Okay, here's my part two of my top 20 albums of 2012. This is albums 10 to 1, and I'm going to name some honorable mentions in between number 2 and 1 just to make that anticipation more anxiety driven. And hopefully my nose won't be running again. I think I've taken care of that. Okay, so I'm just going to get into it now. Number 10 is Born Villain by Marilyn Manson. Now, the first time I heard Marilyn Manson, I listened to The Beautiful People. I didn't even know it was him. I thought The Beautiful People was a great song. So I looked it up and I found that it was Marilyn Manson, and I hated him. I used to hate him. I used to think he was a freak. Well, he is a freak, but in a good way now. Marilyn Manson puts out good music. I think it's great. He's more of the horror punk and horror rock, and horror metal, sort of, is how I would describe him. What else can I say about him? Songs No Reflection and Slow Motion were good. I can't remember any of the other song names. So yeah, number 10, Marilyn Manson, Born Villain. Number 9 is Resolution by Lamb of God. I haven't listened to very many songs off this album. I can't even remember the song names, but what I did listen to blew me away. I did not like Lamb of God at all until I heard this album. Now I listen to albums like Ashes in the Wake, Wrath, and Wrath was nowhere near as good as Resolution was. But yeah, so number 9, Resolution by Lamb of God. Now number 8, back when I said the French surprised me with like doom metal and black metal from bands like Alcest and Gojira, Italy kind of caught me off guard too a few years ago. Gothic metal, gothic rock, Italian band Lacuna Coil picked up their album Karma Code, and that's how I found them. But we're not here to talk about Karma Code. We're here to talk about number 8, Dark Adrenaline. Now, Dark Adrenaline is just amazing from beginning to end. I don't even have a favorite song on this album because it's all amazing. But if I absolutely had to pick one, I would pick Trip the Darkness. If I had to pick one, it would be Trip the Darkness. But their Dark Adrenaline album was just phenomenal. And I even have a Lacuna Coil, oops, wrong way. Right there under Amy Lee is Lacuna Coil. And over there, you can't see it, I have the poster that came with Dark Adrenaline. And I think, yeah, I have the sticker that came with the Dark Adrenaline in between Ronnie Radke and Jake Pitts over there, under Marilyn Manson. So, I do love Lacuna Coil. I like gothic rock and gothic metal. So number 8, Lacuna Coil, Dark Adrenaline. Number 7, I discovered this band when Brandon from Absent Productions from A Moment of Metal talked about this band, Art by Numbers, Reticence the Musical. My favorite track off here probably had to be Delusions of Grandeur, or I think it was The Man in the Box. I think was the name of it. Yeah, The Man in the Box. But Art by Numbers blew me away for their first album. It was produced amazingly. Just nothing more I can say about it except good job, guys. And I'm really anticipating the next Art by Numbers release, whenever that may be. So number 7, Art by Numbers, Reticence the Musical. Now number 6 is more of like the almost borderline punk. I consider them like alternative or sometimes even hard rock. I'm talking about Vulnerable by The Used, which is actually being re-released as Vulnerable 2 with a bonus disc in actually this month. So anyway, Vulnerable by The Used. Favorite track, hands down off here, is I Come Alive. Here's an example. When My Chemical Romance's Danger Days, The True Lives of the Fabulous Killjoys came out, I listened to Na 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 non-stop. I went 24 hours without stopping the song. that's pretty much what I did with I Come Alive by The Used. So anyway, Vulnerable was a great album. I'm really looking forward to the bonus disc that comes with Vulnerable 2. So number 6, Vulnerable by The Used. Now number 5, I found this band while I was exploring the CD section in Hot Topic. And they have those headphone machine things where you can sample music from these artists. I honestly thought this band, it had been their first album, so I was interested. And it turns out this was actually their third. And I listened to previews of songs like Reason to Love and Liberate Me. And this album is Our Last Night, Age of Ignorance. Now, I listen to this album quite frequently. That's why it's in my top 5. It is number 5. But Age of Ignorance blew me away. I never heard of this band, and the first time I heard them, they gave me a good impression. I'm trying to find their more older stuff to listen to. I'm just having a hard time doing that. But Our Last Night, you guys blew me away with Age of Ignorance. So number 5, Age of Ignorance by Our Last Night. Now number 4, this band changed their style, or not really their style, but like their emotion that they put into the music. It almost reminds me of their album 1X. I'm talking about Transit of Venus by 3 Days Grace. Now Transit of Venus, obviously Chalk Outline was the first song to come from it. And then I heard songs like Sign of the Times and The High Road. And I even heard their cover of Michael Jackson's Give In To Me and enjoyed it. I enjoyed this entire album. I really love 3 Days Grace. I saw them in concert once with Avenged Sevenfold and Bullet for My Valentine. I'm actually going to see them again in February with Shinedown and POD. So I'm really looking forward to that. So number 4, Transit of Venus by 3 Days Grace. Now number 3 is a gothic rock band. Like gothic new wave almost. They're from, I believe, Ontario, Canada. If I'm wrong, then correct me. This is the Birthday Massacre with Hide and Seek. I saw this album in Hot Topic, and then one of my friends let me borrow their copy. I listened to it, mainly songs like, what was it? Play with Fire, Alibis, Cover My Eyes, Leaving Tonight, Down. Those were some of my favorite tracks off this album. But the Birthday Massacre amazed me as well. So, number 3, the Birthday Massacre with Hide and Seek. Now, number 2 came very close to being number 1, and then number one barely beat it, but it beat number 2. Number 2 is The Industrialist by Fear Factory. I had listened to some of Fear Factory's material from Demanufacture, and I thought it was pretty good. And that was about a year or 2 ago. I haven't listened to Fear Factory since then until now. I saw Brandon again from A Moment of Metal talking about Fear Factory and how The Industrialist was coming close to being released, and I was like, I'm going to have to go check this album out. So I bought it at Best Buy and listened to it. And just those opening words in the title track, The Industrialist, the say the world was coming to an end, well, it was by our own hand. That instantly got me hooked. It got me hooked all the way from The Industrialist, all the way even to Human Augmentation, all the way even to Landfill, which is the pitch shifter cover on the deluxe edition. I did enjoy this album from beginning to end. And like I said, it was a very close call between The Industrialist and number 1. But number 1 beat it by just that much. So number 2, The Industrialist by Fear Factory. Now number 1, I honestly wish I had a physical copy of this. If I can get $15, I can get it from Century Media. It's one of the most emotional albums I had ever heard. and it like alludes to the singer's passing shortly after the recording of this album. Woods 5, Gray Skies and Electric Light by Woods of Ypres. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Woods of Ypres, I hadn't heard of again until people like Brandon off of A Moment of Metal. And there were a few others. I think Mr. Cannibal Spork was one of them. Mentioned it, and I listened to some of the songs on YouTube, and I went so far as to download the album until I could get a physical copy of it myself. So I listened to it from beginning to end, all the way from the first track, Lightning and Snow, all the way down to Alternate Ending. My favorite tracks are definitely Kiss My Ashes Goodbye, Finality, Alternate Ending, and Adora Vivos. And other good songs, Keeper of the Ledger, Death Is Not an Exit, Career Suicide Is Not Real Suicide. Just the whole album is so emotional. It's a tearjerker almost. Especially listening to Finality and Alternate Ending. Mainly Finality. Because, David Gold, the singer, died in an awful car accident shortly after the recording of this. So, I just had to make this my number one because it was just that emotional and it was just that phenomenal. So, number one on my top 20 list, Woods of Ypres with Woods 5, Gray Skies, and Electric Light. Now, you can do this on either the last video with my 20 through 11, or you can leave it on this video. Leave me your top lists, your top albums of 2012. And like with the EPs, I will make a fan video of the viewer's top 5 EPs and then the top 20 or 25 albums. So, thank you. 2012 was a great year for music, considering like Woods of Ypres, Fear Factory, 3 Days Grace, Our Last Night, Lacuna Coil, Papa Roach, all these that I mentioned and more. I'm looking forward to 2013 and what it has to bring.